Phillip Kennedy Johnson returns to the world of Superman to complete his saga that began with Superman's triumph in Warworld and the adoption of the Super Twins. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Adventures of Superman Book of L issue number 1 and find out what happens next together, shall we? Alrighty then, so as this brand new series opens up, we are reintroduced to Kryl-Ux. Don't remember this guy? Well, he was ultimately revealed to be the true string puller behind the original Warworld saga storyline. He was a famous Philasian warrior who manipulated Superman to coming into Warworld and battling it out against the Mongol who is, so that he could hope to steal the fire of Olgrun, a powerful aspect of an ancient creator god, which actually ended up going into the body of Soul, one of the Super Twins who Clark adopted during his time away. Here's the thing though, the fire of Olgrun was but one of 7 godly aspects that Kryl-Ux hopes to capture, and as we see here, he actually does manage to capture one of the aspects for himself. Now, when we last saw him, his plan was of course to punish Mongol and get justice for his enslaved people, as well as try and destroy the United Planets that backed Mongol. But Superman defeated the Mongol who is at the end of that story, so now everything is kinda up in the air. Now, back on Earth, we see Clark and Lois have actually taken the Super Twins and the whole Kent family on a little outing to Smallville to visit Ma and Pa, and I gotta say, I really love this kind of wholesome family setup for the Kents. Clark says that outings like this for Soul and Otho, Starchild, and Red Sun are imperative for them to try and get back on track and heal from the horrible wounds that they received while being enslaved by Mongol on Warworld. Obviously, Ma and Pa love the idea of having more super grandkids to dote over, and in a nice bit of connective tissue from the last Phillip Kennedy Johnson series, John Kent himself has settled very nicely into the role of older brother. It's on this trip too Clark ends up coming smack dab to the very uncomfortable but very human and relatable realization that his own father is getting a lot older. He's starting to slow down and can't do all the same stuff that he used to. This moment of introspection though ends up getting shattered when Kent Farm ends up coming under attack by an armada of Warzoons, the warlike tribal races who were displaced after the defeat of Mongol. As far as Superman knew, these guys were roaming around the universe as pirates, but the fact that they're here now on Earth and in such surprising numbers is one hell of a shocker, especially when we stop and remember that this is usually the sort of thing the Green Lantern Corps takes care of. And the Justice League and their watchtower are bigger than ever before, so if they're right here right now, that probably means that this is an entire world-level invasion. Superman squares his family away and tells Red Sun and Starchild to protect Ma, Pa, and Lois while he deals with this threat head-on. Where's John the Superboy, you might be asking, while all of this happens? Well, unfortunately for him, he's end up coming face-to-face with Kryl-Ux, who has gotten one hell of a major power-up, as well as a much darker and more sinister makeover to go with these brand new god powers. He vows to remake the world as it was always meant to be. And yet, despite acting like a villain, he is also sure to reiterate that he owes Superman and his family no ill will. In fact, he says that he will be sure that they will be given a place of prominence in his new world. You know, so long as they stay out of his way and all that. Naturally, Superman can't stand for any of this and goes in for the attack. Unfortunately, the second he makes contact with Kryl-Ux, an otherworldly power reaches out to his mind, saying that this is not the time and place for this conflict. It's after that the book really ends up going crazy as we jump to the far future. It's here we are reintroduced to Ronan Kent, apparently Superman's last descendant still living on Earth. We actually met this guy all the way back in one of Phillip Kennedy Johnson's annuals. How is Earth doing in the future, you might be wondering? Well, not good at all, as we learned Superman had actually disappeared all those years in the past during his battle with Kryl-Ux, leaving it wide open to be conquered. Ronan is doing the best he can to fight the good fight against a group of cultists calling themselves the Summermen. The young Superman ends up getting cornered only when things seem to be at their absolute darkest. The most unlikely hero comes to save him, that of course being Superman Clark Kent himself. It would seem he just appeared one day out of thin air and everyone around him is just as equally shocked as the comic comes to a close. And so that was Adventures of Superman Book of L issue number 1, everybody, and if you're a huge fan of Phillip Kennedy Johnson's Superman work, and especially the Warworld saga like I was, then you're probably super stoked at the idea that the original creator has actually been allowed to come back and give us some real deal closure to a bunch of the hanging plot threads that were left at the end of his run, something that doesn't always happen. Now, if you never read the Phillip Kennedy Johnson run, or if you never read Warworld Saga. Can you pick up this one and enjoy it? Maybe. I know I did read the old stuff, and even I kind of had to check out the Wikipedia to refresh my memory, because it really has been that long. Context is really key on this one, and the book certainly assumes that you know everything that happened before, because Lord knows it doesn't stop to get you up to speed or even have a little page reminding you what happened. So that is certainly going to be a hurdle for some people. For what it's worth, everything I liked about Phillip Kennedy Johnson's old Superman work remains true here in this. In fact, it actually dovetails very nicely with what Joshua Williamson and Mark Waid are doing in their own Summer of Superman books right now. Mainly, this book is focusing on the legacy of Superman, particularly what his legacy could look like in the far future and what his family line could look like in the far future too. There's some little extra lore pages in the back of this book that go on to explain that apparently Superman's grandchildren and great-grandchildren went on to be Nightwings and Flamebirds. One even joined the Dark Stars, if you can believe it. And that just really feels like some fertile material for storytelling. I was also a big fan of Kryl-Ux as far as villains go. I thought he had a unique, nuanced, and tragic motivation for doing the stuff he did, and it's nice to see him come back in a meaningful way here. I would give this one an 8 out of 10, but this is definitely one of those your mileage will vary as far as this story goes.
Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.